Hello.
Hey, Mike.
Hi, I'm here. Good. I'm
Great.
having a little trouble getting in here. Oh, looks like
Hey,
that must be Chuck.
we see you, Betty. There's Jerry. Oh, Mike Adams is here. Good.
Jerry Barton,
Oh, here's
is your
Kay
sling off?
Saban. Kay Saban. Yeah.
No, I
And
don't.
Fred Brown.
Do this, right? That takes it
Yeah,
away.
here
Okay.
you go.
I apologize, you guys. I set it up so you can all just come in.
I came in.
Well,
That's a miracle.
yeah, because now I had to give you all permission, which I didn't know.
Hi, Chuck.
How you doing there, Rummy? How are you?
Okay.
Okay, talk to each other. I've got to help Terry.
There's Jerry Barton.
Jerry Barton,
Yes.
an ex-basement guy from Encina Hall.
Room 13.
Chuck, how are you, Chuck?
I'm fine. How about you?
Great.
Good, good.
You guys were both sporting slings last couple of weeks ago.
A little longer than that. You're right, Mike. I recovered the use of my broken wrist. I love the background, Chuck. Where are you?
It's my backyard, Jerry.
Yeah,
I wish
most of the time, right?
most of the time.
Mike, you look like you're on the edge of a golf course.
Yep,
So
that's
that's actually in the Marquesas Islands, which is
that's
you can't fly in there. You can't fly in there, unfortunately.
It's a 6T right below me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yesterday, I was sitting out watching it about 4 o'clock, having a glass of rum and a cigar.
Oh, Kathy, Kay.
Yes. Mhm.
Hello. Good to see you.
Thank you. I began to wonder whether I was going to get here or not.
Well,
And
yeah.
of course, it's 6 o'clock here, not 3 o'clock.
You know who Katie is? She's the cellist in the symphony orchestra.
Long ago.
You wait till the next magazine, you're going to hear all about her.
Oh,
Oh, there I am.
Hey,
There he
Mike.
is.
Hi, Marsh.
And Betty's still trying. I think her son is there.
No, I'm here.
Oh, but we can't see you.
I know. I don't want anyone to see me.
Oh, Betty, you're cheating.
so fair.
We're all half blind. Don't
We
worry
all
about
look old.
it.
And
Did
Fred
you know-
Brown and Mike, you told me that Dave Bragg is going to join.
Well, he said he was. He
Yeah.
promised because because when he and Fred and Jerry are together, it's like a reunion.
I know, and I was waiting to introduce the reunion, but I have
Oh,
to.
good. Well, you have to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
Remember, Marge, that room was called the Animal House at Encina Hall.
Animal House. Yeah, do you remember? Oh, that movie goes way back.
A great place to watch old movies is at the Stanford Theater, which the Hewlett family has so beautifully restored. And they're running a great series of movies right now. So those of you close by can see them in luxury.
Jerry, are you close by?
Well, I'm 87 miles away from Palo Alto.
That's a long way, yeah.
No.
Where are you living again? I've got it on my roster.
We're living in Ripon. Ripon is the Altamont between Modesto and Stockton.
Are you on the Stanislaus River?
That's right. The river divides one of the ranches and flows by incidentally, the town of Lathrop, which is not very far from here, was the fastest growing city in California, and it's named after Jane Lathrop Stanford and her brother. There's a lot of growth taking place in this part of the valley now. San Joaquin Valley, Upper Northern San Joaquin Valley.
Do you think it has anything to do with the prospect of the railroad that's going to go through?
You know, it's years away from completion between Merced and Bakersfield, so I'm not expecting to board that in my lifetime.
It won't be in our lifetime, no. But it's something that has to happen in California. The coastal areas are impacted a lot already.
You already have too many people out there.
We do. We should send them back to you.
No, thank you. They're coming by the droves down here.
Are they?
Oh, gosh, yes. Not too far from my house, there's a new development that they're going to put 6,000 houses in. the Department of Transportation had the gall to say that it would not impact traffic. And I live just about a mile from Anna Maria Island, and you can hardly get onto the island now. It's not good.
Here comes Fred Brown and Art Stauffer. Mike, what's that in your background?
That's the 6th tee of the Rancho Bernardo Inn golf course.
I love it. And is that looking out your window?
You know, it's my backyard, so.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, and I don't have to take care of the grass.
Mike Adams was on.
I'm here.
I think, Jerry, is this your first time on the call?
I was on once earlier.
Yeah, and Kay, this is your first time on?
Yes. Mhm.
Oh, there's Art. Hey, Art.
I'm here.
Yeah, good to see you.
Can I ask Art a question?
Sure.
I spoke to Fred yesterday, and we were talking about Beverly Hills High School guys.
Yeah.
You and Fred and John Weiser.
Yeah, you're still looking for Johnny Weiser, right?
I'm still looking for him. Can you help me find him? I mean, the guy is actually he's a character. He's somebody we must get to know more of, and he's lost somewhere in Hawaii.
Yeah, I know that. I tried very hard. You know, you asked me last time,
Yeah.
and I tried hard to find him. I couldn't find him. Something about an airport that he owns or something.
Well, he used to own an airport, a runway on Molokai.
He had a collision or something.
Yeah. The FAA shut him down.
Yeah, right. But he was, I think he was a champion swimmer for until I think he swam in all the adult races and all that type of thing. He wasn't the best, but he was pretty close to the top. He has some very good times shown in the websites.
You're talking about recent years too, like in the last 20 years or so.
Yeah, he went. It was saltwater swimming, I think. Yeah, Mike, I got a big, long report on him, and I got so excited, and I printed it out and I read it, and I was going to send it to you, and then it was the wrong John Weiser, same age, same in Hawaii. His wife had died, so there was a big this guy, but it was not our Johnny Weiser.
2 years ago today, actually, I was in Honolulu, and I spent the day with Larry Heim. I don't know if you guys remember Larry. He was also a swimmer, and he lived in Hawaii for years after Stanford. Anyway, I went to one of the addresses I had for John Weiser, but nobody ever heard of him there. So that was a strikeout. I mean, I really worked on this guy.
There's 2 or 3 addresses and telephone numbers. I tried to call a couple of them. I couldn't get any Johnny Weiser. So
yeah, well, we're both. It's a mystery.
He and Phil Backer were the. Phil Backer was also a very good swimmer, but he decided to play football instead of swim at Stanford. So
Yeah,
he didn't play much football. I mean, he was on the team, but he didn't play much. But he was from Beverly High. Yeah. One of the 28 that came up to Stanford. Well, the price was right, and it was easy to get in at that point in time, relatively compared to what it is today.
First, we're going to have Kay tell us in 5 minutes what she's done in the last 65 years. Welcome to everybody. Now that we are, quote, all here. And Betty Neeland Crowley, she's there, but she is not
Incognito.
She's there. Say hi, Betty. And Fred is there, and he's not visible. But Fred, you got a reunion going today on this call, and Jerry Barton is here.
Jerry and Fred, and I spoke to Dave Bragg yesterday, and he promised me he would show up for the reunion.
Foster Keene isn't here.
Foster's gone, unfortunately.
Hey, Jerry, do you remember Jerry Giese and his friend used to be friends of Dave's, and they were in the room all the time? Jerry Giese. They were from Oslo.
I don't remember him, no.
Oh, okay.
Marge, I do want to tell you that even though I tuned in on an earlier one of these sessions, I'm prepared to give my life history on this one as well. It will make note of both Fred and Dave and Foster, who, if you're like me, when you pick up the Stanford magazine, I first go to the class notes
Good boy.
written by Mike, and he made reference to the famous Room 13 in Encina. Compelled to speak on that subject a little later.
Oh, I'd love to hear it. All right, I'd love to hear it right now. Why don't you have the floor? Kay, we'll come back to you.
Fine.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, room 13 was located in the basement.
Oh, God, are you doing, walking and talking and everything going well?
Experience of living in that room,
Oh,
as I mentioned, Dave Bragg and Fred Brown and Foster King.
are you gonna be over in Carmel
I remember distinctly when Fred Brown, who even in his freshman year achieved the position of #1 on the golf team, Ken Venturi, his roommates were late. And of course, Foster was an excellent student and became a doctor. And Dave's leadership abilities were evident, as I think he was the key guy out of the four of us, and bringing people to room 13, where we just had a great freshman year.
What have you been doing since then?
Well, okay, I will tell you that I served a couple of years in the Army, or almost 2 years, and majored in econ while I was at Stanford. My roommates beyond my freshman year were Guy Hollister and Mike Orr. And Guy Hollister introduced me to my future wife when we were water skiing out at Spirit Lake near his hometown of Spokane. This coming June, Janet and I will celebrate our 69th wedding anniversary. But while I was in the Army, my father developed terminal cancer, and I was excused from my final 3 months of duty to come home and assist him in the management of the Barton Ranch, which is 122 years in duration right now. I gave up the opportunity to go to business school, and it's worked out very well. We're primarily walnut growers, but we also raise some almonds and raise olives that are processed into extra virgin olive oil. Our two youngest sons have been managing the farming operation, but it's in the process of going to the 5th generation. 2 of our grandsons. Our oldest son came back to start a business called Gold River Orchards, and we process all our walnuts through that plant near Escalon, as well as the walnuts for about 100 other growers. And Janet and I had the opportunity to expand the farming business, most of which is in San Joaquin County, but also in Stanislaus County. It's grown quite a bit. We live on our ranch near Ripon, which for the benefit of those you have tuned in late, is between Modesto and Stockton. It's a really nice small town, but this area is growing rapidly. We were growers that delivered our crop to Diamond Walnut Growers, which has a Red Diamond brand, and located in Stockton for probably the first 75 years that our family's been growing walnuts. In 1984, due to mismanagement, Diamond found itself on the verge of bankruptcy. As inadequate as my background was, I was asked to come in and assume the CEO position. I turned it down twice. And when 2 of my good friends who were growers and had equity in Diamond filed for bankruptcy, it had an impact on me. And I, after a lot of prayer, decided to go in, as inadequate as I felt about it, and lend a hand. Things actually went well. And after 5 years, when I returned to the ranch to farm with my youngest son, why we had fully restored all lost equity and achieved record sales and earnings. And the credit for all of that goes to the people with whom I worked. It was just a wonderful experience for all of us. In terms of one other additional sort of out of the box experience, we purchased a small parcel of 33 acres next to our Ripon Ranch, where Janet and I now make our home and have lived here for 40 years. This was in 1999. And as a result of a sale to a private country club, there's a golf course that runs up into the main body of the ranch here about a mile. And this parcel had frontage on the golf course. And so I don't know if any of you are familiar with what is known as the Fabulous 40s in Sacramento.
Yeah.
But it's a neighborhood that has enduring value. It genuinely is a neighborhood where people get to know each other. So we tried to create that in this 55 home neighborhood that we've constructed next to the ranch. And it's interesting to us, it's exceptionally well maintained. And people, rarely is a home sold there. I think people enjoy living in that gated community. So those are a couple of outside experiences I've had. I've been really blessed with my Stanford experience. I don't think a lot of the opportunities have come my way had I not chosen to go to Stanford. Wind this up by saying that I've attended 67 big games. I've attended 6 Rose Bowls, 1 Orange Bowl, a Fiesta Bowl, a couple of Sun Bowls, a Final Four, and 2 College World Series. I served 6 years on the Stanford Athletic Board, and it's just been a gratifying experience to see how well our young men and women have represented our university. So that's kind of my history, Marge, and I wish if Dave Bragg is on or Fred Brown, wish them the very best.
I just thank you so much for that summary. I'm fascinated. I'm full of questions. I don't want to belabor you, but one thing I have to ask, this is my ignorance. Diamond walnut, as I recall, as I think I know, Diamond is a huge walnut, I'm going to call it conglomerate or cooperative, would it be?
It's a cooperative.
Yes.
And the growers own the business.
Ah.
And so when things go wrong, well, it has a profound effect on retirement plans and college educations, and that was what was happening in 1984.
And Diamond, at least in my limited knowledge in California here, it has a huge impact and a huge visibility to everybody. Diamond walnut, it's sort of the epitome of walnuts. And but is there something like being on the stock exchange or something like that?
Well, that's what happened actually some years later. The person that succeeded me was an excellent CEO, but somehow he got, after 7 years, he got crossways with his board of directors, and a new person came in, took the business public, and it's now owned as Diamond Foods.
Ah.
So it's a different company, but during my time, it was an agricultural cooperative.
And is it now, and it's profitable, I hope, good company today?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Wow, that's just a very, very interesting synopsis, particularly of agricultural California, which we have a number of relatives in the Valley. I love what you've done with the land, the residential land that you now live on, and especially near Ripon. I think many of the Valley towns are becoming very attractive destinations for people to create wonderful communities that are still within all kinds of other advantageous sites in California.
You know, that's true. The climate is not what you experience where you live, Marge, but it's close to Yosemite, it's close to the coast. And the city limits of Ripon are our front gate now. The entire ranch is within the Ripon's general plan, but Janet has laid down the law to our sons that this property will not be developed as long as we are alive. So it will have to wait for a future time if that takes place.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm beginning to understand that I keep assuring my kids it won't be too far in the future. I really don't think we're going to hang around for many more decades.
Yeah, I think you're right.
We have the privilege of driving right through your area on our frequent trips to Yosemite from the Bay Area. And I'm always impressed with
Hi,
the
David.
development and the not only the beauty, but the value of the agricultural interests on the way there.
I know you. Okay, Kay, if we may, I thank you first of all for joining us.
Thank you for asking.
Just delighted to have you here. Mike has tempted me with all kinds of interesting tidbits about you, which I'm not going to share. I hope that you'll share with everybody now.
My name's Catherine, but when I went to Stanford, my roommate Pat King and Joan Leadholm decided I had to have a nickname, and so they called me Katie, and I've been Katie ever since. I was living in Tulsa, Oklahoma when I was going to high school, so I came from Oklahoma, and I was definitely an Okie. And you know what they used to say about that is anytime anybody came from Oklahoma to California, it raised the IQ in both states. My sister and her husband both were at Stanford at the time. Matter of fact, they got married the Saturday before we started our freshman year. I met my husband to be at their wedding. He lived out in the village, a bunch of roommates. We used to do a lot of things together. He used to play in the band out at Rosati's on Friday nights for square dance. I had a good time. But I was very quickly got into the music department. Most of my friends were in that area, and as I did play in this Stanford Symphony the whole time I was at Stanford, and played cello. Colin and I saw a lot of each other, and by the time it was Christmas of my junior year that we got married, and was at ballistic research there. He was an engineer. I finished up after spring quarter. I was very happily married. We lived in Menlo Park, Marge. I immediately went back to Maryland for a year and a half while he finished up his 2 years in the Army. And then we came back to San Diego. So in 1960, I moved back to Palo Alto. We lived in Barron Park. I thought, well, I probably should get something to do. Tried to get a job, and I got a job, and then I got pregnant. So by that time we'd been married for 8 years, and I knew that I didn't want to go leave a child. So not that much longer afterwards, I had another son who was also born there. But by that time, Colin had a degree, and he had an old friend from Convair who asked him to come down to San Diego, or actually Solana Beach, which is just north of San Diego. I lived there for 25 years. Meanwhile, we had a boat up in Palo Alto, and in San Diego, we joined the San Diego Yacht Club. The idea was that we really wanted to do a major cruise. It was after 25 years, and we moved back down to San Diego, nominally retired to do that. We took that opportunity to set up a charter with a boat in the South Pacific for 6 months, sailed from New Zealand, Australia, and up the Barrier Reef and over to New Guinea and to the Solomon. That was kind of a life-changing experience. But travel was one of the big things. At any rate, I spent 25 years. He had a secondary moonlighting thing where he was doing, and so I found myself involved in doing a lot of electronic stuff. But anyway, when we came back down to Florida, which was in 1997. It was supposed to be for 6 months, and 2024. Meanwhile, Colin developed leukemia 3 years ago and he died. But we took a big long trip before he could no longer travel, and we drove from here to Oregon to visit his roommate from Stanford, and then down to San Diego, and then back across the country. But in between all this, we'd also been to Africa on a mission, the Dominican Republic about 4 or 5 times, and to Haiti. Did a lot of traveling the world, and I have no great accomplishments. We never found out what the magic touch for making money was. We threw it around and it didn't come back. And that's it.
Well, thank you. I have to ask you, you've remained loyal to music all these years. Do you still play in an orchestra?
No, I do not. I did used to do some solo work up until about 8 years or so ago. I have a friend here who also plays cello, and we're talking about doing a duet for Christmas. Takes us that long to get ready to do anything.
Well, I think that's fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. Mike, do we have our 4 guys?
We have 3 of them. The 4th one is passed away, but we got Jerry and Dave and Fred Brown, room 13. Have a cheer for room 13.
I think you were looking forward to pulling this group together.
I remember the big thing down there was the Oregonian, Dave. Every morning you guys got the Oregonian, and there was Geezy and you, and who's the sort of fellow Geezy's friend? Oregonian, and
that would be Jerry Geezy.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jerry Geezy and I kind of grew up together, went to high school, and we're very close friends. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us.
Yeah, that's what they said before you joined. Yeah. But our room was so much fun because people would come in late from being out carousing around. The first thing they do is hop in our room. One time, I think it was Gary Crosby and somebody else. They filled their mouth full of lighter fluid and blew out a huge flame in the middle of the room. Do you remember that, Dave?
Well, I do. I have to apologize because our sedate room was so frequently interrupted by disreputable people,
Yeah.
some of whom are on this conference call, but wish to remain anonymous.
Couldn't possibly be Chuck Stockholm, could it, Dave?
Perish the thought, Jerry. Perish the thought. And he will apologize to you, Jerry, as well he should.
When I checked in, I was assigned to room 13. And so I started down the first floor, the second floor, the third floor, up to the 5th floor. Who was our house mother? Where's room 13? Oh, it's just as you come in off the parking lot in the basement.
Yes, the lowest level.
Yeah.
And we had that window that through which many of my friends entered the room, which I also will apologize for.
Is that, as I recall, that lowest level window was like right at ground level.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And it
Oh,
was
yes.
the room was below ground.
The room was below ground.
And then the window must have been halfway up the room or something. But I do remember it. That was a jungle. Yes,
it was. Yes, it was. And there's one of the perpetrators.
As I'm going to share with you, I really enjoy hearing all these stories about Encina 60 years later, because as a sweet, innocent young girl at Brenner, Encina was kind of in the trackway of places that you might go. And I know all of us freshmen at Brenner, we made a wide berth of not going too close to Encina anytime we had to head to campus or go someplace.
Very wise choice.
Yeah, we stayed far, far away. Toyon was right next to us, and they had, wasn't it, they had sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And somehow by then they got a little bit tamer. We didn't go too close to there either. But Encina was definitely a place you did not walk by.
Gary Crosby used to live down the hall from me at Toyon. And now I know where he got all those tricks, because he kept us entertained almost every weekend at Toyon.
Well, I have a stash of tricks from my husband being in Encina several years prior to your being there that I can recall. That he tells it they were on the second floor, so somebody on the third floor had taken the furniture out and lowered a chair down outside the window. And of course, the guys on the second floor had a saw, so they sawed the legs off. And they loved to launch water balloons and all kinds of things. When they were out at the village, it got pretty raucous. You were talking about the lighter fluid. They had figured out how to put a firecracker in a grapefruit and roll it into somebody's room.
I've got to ask you, did Dave, did you say, one of you said there was a house mother at Encina?
Yeah, what was her name? Do you remember, Dave? Or
I
Jerry?
remember her well, but I can't remember her name.
Was she the only one mothering all of you guys in Encina?
Yeah, I
Yep.
think so.
That's correct.
Yep.
Well,
That-
we had an RA on the floor and I can't remember his name.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, it was a football
Jim
player.
Piper.
Yes, he was.
It was Paul.
His first name, Dave, was Jim, and you remember he won the Olympics
Right. He was a
in
rower.
the two-man sculls, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Jim Pfeiffer was his name.
Oh, wow. That's terrific.
Oh, good for you.
So
did
each wing had an RA. We had that at Brenner too for the freshmen.
Peter Kostovich, 5th floor.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Peter.
But one quote house mother for this whole place. How
One
many
mother.
freshman boys were there?
Between 400 and 500.
Oh my God.
Oh, hey, Art.
I hope
Art,
they paid
I
her
was-
a lot of money. I really do.
I was talking to Mike the other day and he said 5th floor. And I said, Johnny Weiser. And I don't think he realized that you and I and Weiser and Backer and Barnes and all these, and Wittenberg and Carell and all these guys were from Beverly Hills High School. And Jean Curry, if she was here.
Jean's not here, but she was.
Was our house mother's name Summers?
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Hey, well, I'm going to do a little segue here. Mike Adams, he's smack in the middle of my screen. Mike Adams is the son of Ansel Adams, who most of us Californians know Ansel, part of our lives. And Mike, so something really special just happened a couple of days ago, and I knew about it. Were you up there at Yosemite when it happened?
Last Wednesday, the Postal Service released a 16 stamp Ansel Adams Forever to the public. And there was a celebration in Yosemite along with the National Park Service. And we were certainly represented. And we're very proud of what they did. And it's a wonderful sheet of stamps. If you can find them in the post office, several people have said the post office hadn't gotten them yet. But anyway, we were very honored by this.
And they're very beautiful. They showed a big spread on Channel 5.
Yeah.
And by accident, I got it. It's like, oh my God. And it showed all the pictures. They're just beautiful.
But anyway, they had a very nice opening celebration, and Marion Patterson, who's in our class, was also up there. So I had a chance to say hello to her.
And she's been joining our group. Hopefully she'll be with us next time, Kay. So Chuck Stockholm, you've been sitting up there with a little smile on your face when they were talking all of this Encina stuff. And I figured you were deeply involved in that and certainly did not want to acknowledge it. And I'm going to open up the screen to you right now and say, so what's up with you, Chuck?
Well, I have a couple of comments I could make, but I would lose two good friends, so I won't make them. But I think the biggest problem I had with that group down there was it really hurt my academic future. And, so I barely got through that freshman year, but that was a great place to stop off after a fun evening. And it didn't, we didn't break any house rules that I can think of that I know of or could remember. But it was a great group of guys, and I think all of us, we certainly miss Jerry not Jerry, well, we miss Jerry, but we miss Foster a lot. Ended up being a fraternity brother of Dave's and myself, but I always enjoyed Fred and Jerry, and it's good to see you guys today.
Thank you.
Hey, Art, it's your term. Yeah, toss in a few words for us.
We had a RA that nobody liked very well, and he was kind of mean. And my roommates were Guy Hollister and Jack Sherwood, both of which didn't make the full 4 years, but decided they would, when he was out for a couple of days, Jack had saved all the dailies for weeks, and we wadded up all the paper, shoved it in his room, filled up the room entirely, put his bed out on the outside the window, hanging down there. And when he came back, he couldn't get in because the paper was, there's so much paper.
Gotta remember that.
Remember, Fred? Yeah.
Yeah.
He put all the paper out the window. I think he broke the window. He shoved it out, and he also shoved the stuff on his desk out. And the net was we had to pay for certain things that were missing. And he was quite upset over the whole thing. But it was a great triumph for the floor. The whole floor participated in it. And it really was, I don't know where Jock got it. I guess everybody saved their newspaper for that time. So all wadded up and stuffed in there. Pardon?
Did he quit? Did he quit after that?
He just took a very low key. We didn't see much of him after that. We had to pay for the, and I think we got mentioned by the dean or something like that, but that was only the first time, right, Fred?
Yeah.
We also got,
Right.
At the Alpha Delt House, they had a water fight
Oh, yeah.
across the street, and we just happened to hit the dean's wife's car when she came, and I had to go over and talk to Dean Walsh, and they kicked us off the campus at that point in time. Remember, Fred? It's
That next,
balloon. I guess the water balloon landed on her front, right on the hood of the car, and so she was furious.
Did any,
hey, Art, the next morning.
did any of you guys,
We got kicked off campus and we all got drunk that night. Anyway, I did.
Okay,
The
who's
next-
talking? Is that Betty?
It's Fred.
Oh, Fred, okay.
Yeah, the next morning I had a golf match, and my average score my freshman year or my sophomore year was like 68 point something. I remember double hitting a chip shot in the third hole and ended up shooting 81, and I had a hangover. I never even thought of getting drunk would affect my golf.
Hey, Fred, tell us a little bit about your views on the PGA. I've been told by a very good source that you're deeply involved in golf. You've mentioned it before.
Oh, yeah.
What are you thinking?
Mike asked if I do that if we have time. I was on the tour twice, once my junior year and then after a couple years after I graduated. So I really got to look at the tour from the player's point of view and what has changed between then and now. The leading money winner on the tour then earned about $30 to $40,000 for the year. They win a tournament, you get about $5,000. And nowadays, Tiger Woods' earnings over his career is 120 million. Phil Mickelson is 90 million. If you're 10th or so, it's 18 million. And if you're last, like right now, Scotty Scheffler is leading the tour with 18 million something dollars. And the last guy on the tour, the 278 million, I mean 76,000, I'm sorry. So the difference between then and now is that the PGA Tour has become a major sporting event like baseball, football, basketball, all the rest. And then Tiger Woods, when he, besides 120 million, he got a $40 million contract when he turned pro with Nike, and it went on like that. So let's have a 54-hole three-round tournament. So they decided on 54 Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And right now you can watch the Friday round, your iPhone or on a computer. These guys have to earn their way onto this tour. It's tough to get them. The Live Golf came along and were giving $4 million for, but they dropped down that $4 million. And the second was $2 million too, and the third was $1 million 8 or something, and fourth was $1.1 million, and it was just unheard of. So now to wrap it up, Taylor Gooch was the top player last year. He won 3 tournaments, $46 million. So, but something has to be done. The world ranking is not recognizing these major players. So that's where it stands right now. They're in negotiations, maybe bring it together.
Okay, thank you so much for your wrap up on that. Marcia, I wanted to ask you, what's up with you? Are you doing your summer planning to go up to Coeur d'Alene?
Yes, we are. We're going up July 9th, and we'll stay July and August as usual, if all works out all right. And our children are all coming, and our 11 grandchildren are coming for a week. And so we're very, very fortunate to have that reunion every year.
That's wonderful. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up. This is about the time that we're ready to go. I've just got a few messages for you from other classmates. Okay, Carla Anderson Hills, she's in Washington, D.C. still, and she keeps wanting to join the group. But tonight she's at a dinner with Senator Nunn. Do you remember him? I kept thinking he should be dead by now. He must be at least well into his 90s. And Carla's 90. I mean, if we're all 90, he's way up there. She's at dinner celebrating his life, and he's there, still alive. So that's why she's not joining us tonight. She keeps promising next time. Clancy Clark DeNevers, she's been on with us once. She's the one that's written that wonderful book. And now they're making a documentary out of it. So I can't wait. She's still working on that. Betty Crowley is there, but she refuses to be seen. And so it's hard to hear from her. Rudy Reich, who's with us every month, he couldn't make it this time, but he just wanted you to know that they still love living in their new home at Viamonte in Walnut Creek. And his wife is celebrating her 80th birthday. I'm like, 80?
80.
Woohoo, she's just a kid. That's pretty much the wrap up from my end. Does anybody else have anything you'd like to share? We're going to talk next time about the reunion. We're all invited to reunions every year from now on with the Cardinal Society. So Terry and I, once again, will hope to be there this year and hope some of you join us. We'll meet again in 3 months, and I'll wrap up. You'll get a wrap up from me, and I will edit our video on YouTube and send you the link to it.
Thanks so much, Marge.
Thank you for being with us. I hope you'll join us again. All right. Thanks you guys so much.
Thank you, Marge. For a great
Thank
job.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Marge.
Marge.